Good evening. This is another stand-in talk because, basically after a day of crawling over mountains and so forth, I haven't improved my situation to move about in a way without tripping over myself on some of the inclinations and declinations of the surface and topography of what you find around mountains. I had one personal note, and that is it's a real kick to be with Holly and to be walking up and down these hills and mountains and crossing creeks when we're doing this for hours. And there was a time before her operation when we would walk for 5 minutes with some robustness, if you will, and then we'd have to stop so her lungs could adjust. Nothing like that happened today, and she joked at one point that because she has the 14-year-old's lungs, she's able to do what she's doing. We're in a good place in Georgia in terms of, the weather and so forth here has been fine. But that's not true in the surrounding areas. And so in Georgia and points south and north from where we are, there have been terrible storms and homes have disappeared, and all because of Helene. Now, an interesting aspect of this, beyond what you normally expect FEMA to be dealing with, is the fact that 21% of the victims of this storm, if you will, they had coverage, that is storm coverage, insurance. But there have been 213 deaths in 6 states, and the rest don't have that insurance. And they either didn't enroll or they couldn't afford it, and both are probably part and parcel of this. So it would be refreshing if Republicans would for a moment put aside the bullshit that they've been expounding upon as if Congress is helpless and stop campaigning and start governing to take care of these people who've lost their homes. The proof that one has empathy for others is to feel that you must do something about the tragedy they suffer. It is not acceptable. Now, the second and hidden part of this, and I blame the Republicans, and there are some Democrats too, but it's principally the Republicans calling global warming a hoax, when one of the aspects of global warming is that the oceans rise and the water comes with more force toward the land when it does land, with high 120-mile-an-hour winds and powerful punching thrusts that bring down entire communities. And was this avoidable? Certainly we had a chance to ameliorate it, and we now must assume the responsibility to do that. So there's really two things. Let's take care of the people injured in this latest hurricane, and let us do something to stop the danger that is represented by global warming. So there's that. Now, yesterday I said I would talk about the recent submission by Special Counsel Smith to the court. And this is a significant act because what he is saying to the court is this is a summary of what we intend to prove. And here is the real significance. We are answering the Supreme Court. We are saying to the Supreme Court that these were not public actions that deserve of immunity, and that each and every instance of proof we propose for this trial is acceptable within the 4 corners of the Supreme Court ruling, and that we intend to present these things, and we ask the court to present them to the public and to the jury that sits in judgment. Now, Trump probably outsmarted himself because he delayed himself into this position. There'll be no decision by the Supreme Court before the election. What will stand, what the people will hear, what they will understand is what's in the report made by Smith. And we may expect that it may be supplemented by the appendix to that long report, which is pretty clear. And that appendix will be additional information available to voters before the election. As of this moment, I am advised that the Trump lawyers don't intend to submit anything until something like November the 25th. So there will be no, if that holds, there'll be no appeal to anyone else. And so the record will stand as Special Counsel Smith represents it to the court and by way of the release of the information to the public. Now, one of the things, I'll give you a couple of instances because it's a long report, but they are, if you will, a lot of it mirrors the January 6th report, but then there are some special occasions. So, for example, in Detroit, there was a report to the campaign that Biden was going to win the election. And the answer to that was, well, see what you can do to correct it. In other words, correct the apparent win of Biden for the purposes of the election to help Trump. Now, Trump knew that not one of his cases had any merit, and there are a number of instances in the report spelling that out. And so they're basically saying, make them riot, make the people riot. Now, we must have an example of what's going on that's fraud in order for there even to be a passing possibility that what Trump had to say was true. But there is no court in the United States that was presented with this question that found that there was any deceit or fraud in the election. And that's powerful. And so we have Trump saying things to his family like it doesn't matter if you win or lose, but you have to continue to press your point, saying that you did win when you didn't. There is this theory, of course, about what is more persuasive, what is first and most recent. Well, we have had the event itself that we saw on January 6th. There was the inaction by the Department of Justice under the worthless Attorney General Garland. And this was cured in part by the protest by the people and by the congressional investigation, the January 6th special investigation, that basically laid the blame on Trump for being as close to a traitor as you could possibly imagine. So the interference with the government by Trump, which is the focus of the prosecution in D.C., headed by Judge Chutkan, it fits right into that bailiwick. But here we have the rest of it. Now we have a refresher, not just by the indictment and the motions we've had to date, but by a description of what evidence will be presented at the trial for the court to consider and to consider admitting it, because by Special Counsel Smith's view, it does not contradict the ruling of the Supreme Court, however oligarchic the court, by a six-person decision, may appear to have them react in the way a Supreme Court does. But this Supreme Court, of those six, are hacks, political hacks, who are doing the bidding of a president who put them on the court. And by that fact, we have compromised our entire justice system. But taking it as given, presuming as if it matters, we still have the answer by the special counsel, which I hope the district court judge will follow, which basically says, hey, look, we have a prosecution that has nothing to do with what is circumscribed by the Supreme Court. We are talking about private acts by Trump in and out of office that do not fall within the decision of the Supreme Court. Now, so we have both maybe the first impression of this case against Trump, January the 6th. We lived through it. We have a second one in which we have we have the congressional investigation of January 6th, and now we have this special report by the special counsel. This is a very strong argument. And if, to the extent that rationality may still be effective, those Republicans who look at this and are humiliated and embarrassed by their leadership can say enough is enough. Independents can say the same thing. Democrats who might ordinarily sit home and yawn at what is going on would look at the campaign of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and say, this is the kind of America we want. This is what we have to do. We have to return America to the public, to the people. We have to shut out those who will talk to us of death and destruction and a dystopic, omnipresent dictatorship that Trump would put in its place on his first day in office and continue ever after, so that there will not be another election. In other words, after 2024, if his bad acts in and out of the voting booth, on and off the Hill, are affected, as he suggests when he talks about bloodshed and things like that in the final election, to stop that and prevent that from happening, as many people as can must go to the voting booth, must cast the lever, and must get their friends and family and anybody else they care about to do it, because our life and our world will be very different if we return this thug to the West Wing. So that's what I got tonight. I would suggest that you thumb through the report if you can, 165 pages, and you may see an appendix released as well, which was submitted with the report of the evidence they would present at court. That's up to Judge Chutkan. I suspect she may release it but hasn't yet studied it, but that's up to her. The rest is up to us. We the people have a foundation to make the argument with clarity and force that Trump is an enemy of the people, sort of like an Ibsen play, except we should not be confused, as was true in that play by Ibsen, that the person who was warning of community of disaster was instead turned around and became the enemy of the people, and his wisdom and instruction was disregarded. We cannot have that outcome. We have to have an outcome in which the enemy of the people is not the people trying to help America, but the enemy of the people is Trump and his corrupt minions. And those are the people that we have to shudder, that we have to dismiss, that we have to perhaps prosecute, that we have to see have nothing to do with government because they don't agree that we are a democracy or a republic. So that's what I got. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm not sure I'll be walking, but I will probably be talking. All the best. Bye-bye.